Already.
I just don't want to get.
Welcome to Quinto Dia Útil podcast. It's a pleasure to talk with you guys again. And my first question, Brian, are you anxious to watch The Devil's Wears Prada 2?
Am I anxious to watch?
Yeah.
Like nervous or super excited? Both. Maybe. I will have to. Yeah, I think everybody has to watch it. It's an American thing, right? So,
it is. I have to watch the first one.
Yeah. Well, and we used it. I mean, we even had it as a quote in our improv trivia this week and everything. So from the first one, we don't have.
That's why I can't go to the improv trivia because I have no trivia skills.
So we will have to check it out. Yeah.
Yeah. The myth script is so good. The first, and I remember our first conversation was about movies and to understand like this kind of storytelling. Yeah. And then we talk about this movie. The reason of my question, but I don't know. Always the second put our expectations like this, and then we watch and was like this. But
it's very hard to do a sequel and have like a good, especially if you had like a really solid story the first time. It's always yeah. But hey, we also don't make anything new anymore, so we got to reinvent everything. So I guess that's where we're at.
It's a good point, like because we are not inventing the songs. The songs that we have, if you watch serious new movies, they are using songs for 90s, 80s. And what is the reason? Like the people are not creative anymore, or they are not looking like to spend money to create something, and then the public is not buying, and you get lost. Like
all the cool kids grew up in the 70s and 80s. That's my answer.
I think it's the income curve, right? The music that they play in places follows like where people are at their peak income earnings. So you're always targeting like the 40 to 50-year-old people because they're the ones that have the most money to spend.
Yeah,
and you get more nostalgia spending there. So that's because the kids will go to the movies no matter what. You got to convince people to go you got to get like old people like Sean and me to show up in places by playing the music that we liked of our childhood and that kind of thing. So I think that's the real reason, from like a cynical point of view.
Is it happening with compensation, right? Like to bring for our conversation right now, what we have as a new is a brand new in this event, 3-day of Congress. Can you share with us, because you were working, both you guys, during these 2 days doing sessions, presentations, and walking around? Can you share something that is brand new right now?
I think the application of AI. So I think 2 years ago, 1 year ago, we talked about it. People were scared, basically scared shitless of AI, didn't know what it was and figured it out. And now you're seeing the application of AI. And so you're seeing a lot. They had the AI skills lab in here, which was jammed, right? There were just way too many people in there. So I think you're seeing that application. People are leaning in, and you're seeing vendors also using AI rather than just like a bot or look at my shiny toy on the side. This is what it does practically. So I think that's probably the biggest thing is you walk around, people are figuring out how to practically use AI to do projects.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I would add on to that. So I think that's right. And there were times that you couldn't get into the AI sessions because they were just like, it was standing room only, packed out around it, and then further back. I was, some sidebar conversations I had with people, and some of the other sessions were, okay, so now we've got AI, we've got this application of it. Now, what are like the other things that you got to do around that? Like, what are the soft skills that you need? Mm-hmm. Because like, if AI is going to replace a lot of this work, how do you still like? There's a human element to that goes in there. So I would say it's maybe not new, but we have to like redo, we've always had to have sort of soft skills and things, being able to tell stories, being able to talk through that. But now it's really different when the AI bot can help write it. The AI bot can start a story, but then how do you make it authentic? How do you make it like resonate with people? How do you make it not just be sort of rehashed garbage? The movie sequel example is a great thing.
Yeah.
Like you have some movies that have a sequel that's fantastic. And then you have others where it's like, we just took the script from the other one, changed some names, passed it around. And now, we just, basically shot the same movie. And then, those usually don't do so well versus if they say, hey, we build on the story. I think with AI, the basics and the fundamentals are all there. A lot of stuff can kind of be cheated or automated or however you want to look at it, depending, some people are like, yay, I don't have to do as much work. Some people are like, wait, I've been spending my whole career doing this, but there's still a gap. Like there's still, you've still got to convince people that it's, not just this automated thing. I think the other skill, and I'll go back to Sean then or on this, but the other skill is, there's people like the AI piece opens up all kind of new doors for like people. Like I was in a meeting. We were kind of in a roundtable situation, and somebody was talking about how they were early adopters to implementing job descriptions, and they had an AI bot that was helping write job descriptions. Well, then everybody in their company started feeding, like all of the job descriptions started getting elevated because they started using an AI bot to say, how do I get the job? How do I get the price that I want for this job? So like I might be hiring a coordinator, but now I just tell the AI thing to make it like it's a VP. So now it's a coordinator job description, but it's written as the strategic leader on all of those things. So that's a whole new, like we get the first round of like good intentions, and then how do we sort of, it's like AI is the big thing. And then how do we keep AI from running amok?
Okay.
It's the new deal.
I think AI is going to add, I think there's also interest in now, how do I do more strategic things? Because in the past, I think it was always, it'd be cool to do strategic things. I want a seat at the table. How many decades have we literally heard we want a seat at the strategic table? But there was so much shit to do, just work in Excel and everywhere else and writing job descriptions that they could never get there. And so I think a lot of people were like, it'd be cool to be strategic, but I don't have time to be strategic. So I don't need to learn about workforce analytics or payroll or all these other things. But now they're like, actually, I'm going to get down to like a normal-ish thing, and I'll have some bandwidth when I get the AI stuff figured out. And a lot of this work that used to take 3 days down to like 3 minutes. Once I get that all squared away, I can now do more strategic things. How do I do that? Like, what do I do? And how are others that have been doing that do that? And so I think you're seeing more of that going on now with some of the sessions around how do I do this? There were more people in the exec comp session, like a breakout the other day, that don't do exec comp than I was expecting. They raise their hand, and I think it's because they're like, actually, this is something I haven't tackled or we used a consultant for. I could actually start to think about, I wanted to do this. Now I can do that. And so I think you're seeing them expand a little bit more out because there's potential bandwidth.
When we come to such an event like that, there are so many things that we think, I must add this knowledge to my portfolio, or I need to learn this, or I have to, I don't know, connect with new people. But what should we let go? So what did you see here that probably are things that we are intend to let go in the next years? So not things that we need to add to our daily life or knowledge, but things that we are now starting to see that we need to let go. Did you see something like that? Do you have a point of view about it?
Do you want to talk? You can go ahead. Well, I'm happy to go.
You can go ahead.
So, I mean, it's interesting. Excel is going to, it's the premium on Excel skills, right? So I used to say, like, if you had an Excel problem, you actually just run over to the comp department. Like, nobody knows Excel like the comp department. And now I think there's a lot of that. There's going to be less of a premium on that. And so this kind of bias towards people who really know Excel, because AI can do a lot of that stuff. You still functionally need to know how it works. But now the end game is you need to understand what you want to get done more than the actual mechanics of it behind it. So to me, that was the first thing, was kind of the let go of that. Excel still has its place to house stuff, to do things, to functionally do it. And the price point, I work at a vendor. There's a lot of vendors here. It's really hard to beat Excel's price point of free. But I think that skill, that premium, and going out and learning, like, I need to be an Excel wizard and be the best Excel person ever on the planet so that I, can get my next job. That's not the thing.
But in the middle of this point, like, we have some people that most of them are mechanical, it's not strategic. So, but we have many technologies, AI, and what is the reason that we are not strategic? Because if you have many elements, like, to think about, like, to understand all the view, like a high view, to understand the sections, the sectors, and all this stuff, why are we not strategic?
I mean, think about a 500 person shop, right?
Mhm.
You might have one comp person or 1,000 person shop. So how much data do you have to manipulate for a 500 person shop? I'm going to get surveys. I have to participate in those surveys. I have to make sure stuff's right. I have to deal with all the comp. I mean, it's not like comp, you can build a band and then you have merit and nothing happens in the middle. There's questions all the time. TA's coming. Like all the shit's going on all the time and all the data has to be manipulated.
Yeah.
And so when are you going to be strategic? A hard part of like doing something new in pay is you can't, I'm in development, right? If we fuck up, like we're like, we just fix it tomorrow, right? Or we fix it in the next dot release, not a big deal, right? You like, if you made a mistake and everyone's pay went out -5%, like,
Yeah.
have a nice day, right? Like, or if you decided everyone's band was too small, so no one's getting a raise, like there's a lot, it's a very serious business in there. And so people don't see it that way because you don't know until it's wrong. And so I think that's why it's hard to be strategic. You have to do all this stuff to make sure it's right, including, the boss's pay. Like those that do exec comp, like you definitely don't want to go to that meeting and not be prepared.
So I think there's there are a lot of strategic comp and total rewards people. I think the challenge is if you are a strategic and comp, like historically, if you've been a strategic person, you also become the total rewards plus HRIS, and then you become the total rewards plus payroll. And I joke this because I've had this happen 3 times to me, like if you are strategic and you solve problems, people will give you more problems to solve.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily say, hey, we want you to spend more time being.
You always give the work to the busiest person.
Right.
Yeah.
And so one of the challenges is like the competence kind of gets rewarded with more diversity of problems. And so, but that's where I do think, like, kind of going back to the original question of like, what are we going to do with AI? Sort of this, like how's this changing things is, I was doing work a couple of months ago, like going through Copilot, and there was like a particular thing that I really needed to do. And I had thought about like, Sean made the perfect point. I grew up as like an Excel jockey, right? So I made my career until I became a manager of other people was made pretty much entirely of Excel, maybe a little bit of other stuff afterwards, but Excel was like, that was like how I raised my children kind of thing. Like that was my bread and butter. And I thought about, okay, like this project, if I was looking at all the data that I had and I was like, this is at least a 3-week focus, nothing else. Like I could spend 130 hours in Excel doing this. And I pulled up Copilot and started going, okay. So I sat there for 3 hours that night, and Copilot had far exceeded what I would have been able to do in Excel in 120 hours when I was in my heyday of like, living in Excel, writing VBA, doing all of those things. And it was just amazing to me what it came. Now it wasn't perfect, but it got me 99% of the way there without, and this was just, Microsoft Copilot. It wasn't there was really nothing special of an instance of that.
And what did you do with your extra time?
What did I do with this is,
I like that you think in comp they have extra time. That's like when the kids ask it for extra money. The extra money. It's right next to, it's over with the extra money pile.
So I'll say this because I was like so excited when I finished that 3 hours that I posted about it on LinkedIn, but that was at like 1 a.m. in the morning. So it wasn't really, the extra time was that I just got to go to sleep that night, go to work.
So you lost 8 hours sleeping. Oh
no. Yeah, I know. I gave up a whole, I think I lost maybe 6 hours sleeping before I could go back to work and then answer some.
But it builds on it though, because like in the past, to be strategic, you might think of 1 or 2 ways, because to model something out in Excel and to do it one way took a long time. It might take 120 hours to get everything right. You're like, okay, if I want to model this again, it might be another 40 hours to go through and model something out. Yeah. And you're like, and what model do I want to run? Because I can't run, I have 5 or 6 things I think strategically might work. What's the best one, or what are the ramifications of it? You'd be like, well, I'm definitely not doing 5 or 6. I'm going to take my best guess at that. Now you're like, I'll run 5 or 6, and then I might ask, Copilot or Claude and be like, and what if I ran something similar to this, and it'll run like another 3 or 4, and that's over lunch, right? And so it allows you to be more strategic too, because the modeling and the financial ramifications behind it is significantly faster.
Yeah.
what is the way like to build a mindset like you guys? Because imagine it, you pass like an internship and then you're an analyst, a manager, you go, and all these exposition for these problems made your mindset, okay? But do you think for a guy that is coming to the workplace for right now, like 20 years, 21, they they are not having the same situations to build this way like to think, and we are not preparing because I was watching some companies and I don't want to hire anymore because I don't need like an intern and what would be the way like to teach someone like this? Because like all this history that you have, this backlog is built up by 100 hours in a spreadsheet, like doing a job that you think today I don't want to do this anymore. But you teach you that it teach you. What do you think?
I do think the community piece of it a lot. So, when you go and you talk to 5 other people, because we learned a little bit the hard way, yourself. So I think if you can get out and ask other people how they're handling it, for sure. And that's a big advantage if you're in your 20s. As a whole, having been, in development and other spaces, the TR community, everyone's super approachable. So like if there are 20 somethings listening, like literally you can walk up to anybody in here and if we didn't have tags on, you would not know the level of human most of the time. I mean, every group's got some people, but in general, they're super approachable. And so if you go sit at a table or you do round tables or you do something here, that's super easy. And then I would just say, there's tons of different ways to learn. You have to get to the information differently because I think the experiential difference of like, I'm not going to run it that way because I tried it that way. And I know all the mechanics of if I did this 120 hours, it might take you 6 hours in Copilot instead of 3 because, Brian already knew where he was going directionally with it. So you might have to keep figuring it out.
That's right. I think I think about this because I have kids that are in high school right now. And like that question is like super relevant because they're going to be 21 years old in 5 years. And I'm looking at it and I'm going like, how do you do that? I think it's a double-edged sword, right? The technology is such that so much information is available now. And of course, I think what we're sort of proving in society is that the lack of information wasn't really the problem. I think I posted on this on LinkedIn maybe a couple of weeks ago. It's like I grew up with like a shelf of World Book encyclopedias. And then when I went out into the business world, there was the internet. But like if I wanted to learn something about Excel, I had to find like a message board. There weren't like 400 YouTube videos. There wasn't a Copilot. There wasn't any of that. So like the curiosity to search for things, it was a much harder search. Whereas like now, like we could be talking about this right here and my phone's listening to me. And if I pull up Facebook, it's going to be like, here's some Excel training for you or whatever else. Where before I had to like search and then it would be like, I don't know if Billy Bob 1974 has the right answer for this Excel formula, but I hope he does. And I'm going to try it out. Right. So the information is way more available.
Yeah.
The challenge is it's almost like people become complacent. So I think the really curious people will have more resources for them. But I think the people that are kind of like waiting for it to show up, it is almost like information overload. The other side of that is I think, as people go through as a total rewards professional, what would be different now is really needing to be connected to the business and to be able to tie things to the rest of the world. Like I was interviewing people for a job that I posted and, in an interview with somebody, they're talking about like, they've got hundreds of KPIs, and what their company's measuring, and they're talking about processing the bonuses. And I was like, okay, so you have a KPI like EBITDA. And they're like, yeah, we have a KPI. Yeah, that's in our plans. I'm like, do you know what that means? And it's just really quiet.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, if we're managing people's performance, if we're doing this and you have hundreds of KPIs and one is essentially just the profit of the company, like you got to have the curiosity to go as opposed to just, I get this file from finance.
It's a number.
I load this file into a system. That system spits out a number. I try to make sure that person hasn't quit yet. And then I try to pay them. You really got to know what it is that we are like how we actually interface with the business. So I would say the silo that we live, where we've been able to be like, oh, well, we're within HR, we sort of hide behind a HR business partner. We get the HR business partner to go out and have the conversation. and we sit here and just calculate the numbers, I think that aspect of this profession will be obsolete very quickly.
So when you were talking, I was thinking that sometimes in life, for example, in this case you commented, so I don't know how to say, because we say EBITDA.
EBITDA.
EBITDA. Okay.
EBITDA.
If I don't know what it is, I can search for it.
Right.
So I spare some brain storage, talking in an easy way. But what am I putting in this storage? Because if I'm saving this storage, I can look for this information. I don't need to know how to assemblish furniture, for example, because I can search for it and I can follow the instructions. I don't have to storage this in my brain, so I don't have to know it by heart, because I can watch a video and then I do it and then I forget about it. But what are we putting in this extra space? Because last night we were in a on or in, I don't know, NBA game, and I was like, oh, cool, I'm going to watch some basketball game. Cool. So because I'm not a basketball fan, so I was like, oh, everyone is going, so okay, I'm going. And then I bought the tickets and I was there. And the minute when I posted, so many people in my Instagram wrote me, that was my dream. Oh my God, I can't believe it. That's my dream. And I was like, a basketball game? And I asked my husband, is this an NBA game? And it was like, oh, totally. Oh, okay, but it's a very small team, right? No, look at all these championships they won. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God. So this is on TV right now? Yeah, probably yes. In Brazil? Yeah, probably people in Brazil are watching. And I was realizing where was I, or where?
Did you try to run on the floor so people in Brazil could see you?
Yeah, no. Unfortunately, I was in
Felipe has the picture out in the front
on the kiss cam.
Yeah.
So these two things makes me think what I do with this extra space, because suddenly the opportunities, for example, to be in a place where things important are really going on, there is someone's dream is happening right now, and I have no background about it, because I was like, okay, I'm going. I didn't search for information because I was thinking, oh, okay, so I wasn't worried to add knowledge to my portfolio, I was thinking, oh, okay, so I came to the game and I was like, oh, NBA, oh, okay, Spurs, oh, okay, so playoffs, oh, that's playoffs, so I had this extra space and I didn't add things to it, and I was in front of an opportunity and I lost part of it because I didn't know anything about it, does it make sense? This mess in my head that I tried to explain in English. Okay.
No, I think the time that people had, right, in the past, the science part of comp, so comp's art and science, that's what makes it so cool, is the science piece is going to be, I can aggregate more data, and the science part's going to be, I think, easier, right? But everyone has access to a lot of the same science. To Brian's point now, the art of how I tie this to my people, my business, what drives my business, because statistically, like I use humans, but companies are the same thing. Humans are statistically very consistent, amazingly individually unique, right? So almost everything humans do falls on a bell curve all the time. But if you're in HR, there are a lot of unique things, and every companies are like, hey, company average size 500, they act like this. But then when you get there, that company's very unique. What drives their business, where they're located, what type of people do they hire, what's management like, what is management like in that team, what does their board want, are they privately held, a PE firm, like that's all the art that then gets applied to that, and understanding the business drivers. That's where I think the extra time needs to be spent now. They're going to save time. And so to be strategic, to do the right thing, because I think in the past, good or even better was I have the best science. Like I've got Brian doing my Excel. That makes me a very good program. I think that's going to be the bar now for like, I have good data. I mean, so you got data knowledge, you got AI, and you got vendors progressing, right? The science part is there. Vendors, and I'm at one, will tell you we can do a lot of amazing things, but we can't make the tool do what it needs to do because only Brian knows at his company what are the business drivers, what are the KPIs, what does management want, how long do we want to do this? Where do I hire my people in, Georgia and, around the world? They have different locations than anybody else's location mix. It gets complicated really fast. And the arts that's applied to that, I think is going to be what takes people from like good to better to best. That's where I would spend the time trying to figure out strategically.
We should do like this. Yeah. This is the real way, like to put your time, like the time you are getting. But if you see the economical behavior, our brain is
trying to save
crazy
energy
for dopamine, and it is like lazy. I think the way like this is. So if you have time, take a look at the world right now. We are spending our time on Instagram, seeing videos, short videos, because short videos is like our brain like this, just 30 seconds, and then you put dopamine in every day, and we are drinking, energizing, all those stuffs, and then we are not growing. We're not growing because it's hard to grow. Like you spending many energy, like to grow your mind, like to broke or the ways and to rebuild another one. So I agree with you. But I think the hard lesson is to put in practice. This is the point.
Always, right? And again, comp is. I haven't met a comp program yet in 25 years that's overstaffed and has plenty of extra budget. It's not a thing, and so it does become a time of like, do I wait and not do this later, or do I stay up till 1 a.m. and figure it out? To your point, and again. Staying up to 1 a.m. in this case is the time saving mode of someone in comp. So there's still, I think there's going to be this wave of, there's an expectation you'll save a lot of time with AI. I don't think they'll save a lot of time with AI to start because you're going to have to do the work, figure it out, and do all the auditing to make sure it happens and it's all right before you can trust it, before you then get the time savings. So there's going to be this period of time of which there's not as much time saved because you can't just go put it into AI and walk away and be like, this is good. Those people will get called out right away. And so you have to go audit it, but you just have to spend more time auditing than the initial pass.
I agree.
Yeah. So if I just get like the perspective of a practitioner who has to manage, I manage a decent number of people now. I've managed hundreds of people over the last several years, a lot of different companies. You've got groups of people that are thirsty for information, that are like, there's like, I've got people on my team right now that will, if I ask them a question, like the next morning, they will be ready. Like they're on Teams, like, where are you at? I want to show you what I found. Here's what I got. But then I also have people that are kind of like going to the San Antonio Spurs playoff game that are like, I'm here checking Instagram on my phone. I didn't know what this is about, even though that there's people sitting all over the world that are like, crying over this game. There's millions or billions of dollars being bet on it. And then some people are sitting at work, maybe we don't all work for the San Antonio Spurs, but you're going into the office, your CEO's trying to like push forward something and they're sitting there, checking Instagram, looking at the thing. So, they see a problem. Like one of the things I try to talk with my team about is, like, if you see a problem, if you see something that's really frustrating, if you see something that doesn't make sense, that's not a like, oh man, gosh, we're stupid. That's like, we should just walk away. That doesn't make sense. That's that's an opportunity for you to develop your career, right? Like, so every company I've worked at, like I see, my management thing, the thing that I walk in on like day one is they're like, well, what are you going to do? I was like, my first rule is like, SSDS, which I don't know. We might have even talked about this on the podcast.
Yeah.
Stop doing stupid stuff. Like just like let's go, like, let's fix the things that are obviously broken. And that is that's career development. Those are those things. But the trick on that is that all takes initiative, right? So just to like I loved your example of the whole San Antonio Spurs thing of like going to a game, not knowing what it is. a lot of people in a lot of places all around the world sort of go to work not really thinking about the significance of what they're contributing, what they're doing for their company, how they can make a difference, how they can advance the thing. They're just waiting on somebody to tell them to do a task.
Yeah. And for example, we were talking yesterday about it because in this edition with all the AI, the plot and all the gadgets that you can have with AI, people come here and instead of watching and paying attention to the presentations, they record it somehow, or they put they take the captions from the app and they put them in the presentation in an AI chat, and then tell, make some summarize of this, and then write a LinkedIn post, and then so probably there are many. I'm not saying that. I'm pretty sure that here in WorldatWork, none of the presenters did this, but all around the world, people are speaking things that they just wrote with AI, so they are not even thoughts, well, human thoughts. They are AI thoughts from I don't know what kind of humans they are behind it, but they are writing.
Average humans.
Yeah.
Average humans.
They are writing and speaking about things they build in AI, and then people that are there to hear them are taking notes with AI, and the AI is posting things on Instagram or LinkedIn, and then there are people that are not there. They're reading AI notes or AI posts, and where
so next
are the
year
humans?
I'm gonna send an AI bot to World at Work. I'm just gonna send a AI Sean.
So
rolling.
I think because people are so obsessive, so obsessive with this thing. So AI is going to save me mental load. Is going to save me time. Is going to save. I can be everywhere anytime I want. So we are forgetting how we know things, the process of learning, because that's not the process of learning. There is something missing. We can learn with AI, absolutely. I totally agree, but there is something in this cycle that I just mentioned that is lost. So there's not learning there.
Yeah,
it's the creative thought piece, right?
Yeah.
So the thing with AI, I think there's going to be a premium on creativity, right? AI does not have new idea. It generates off the others. It can build off, but like truly creative things, I think are going to be at a premium, and that's the art applying it.
It's
to
like a narcissist thing, because AI is reading things that AI just produced. So
This is circle of
AI narcissism.
Yeah,
circle of AI.
That'll be in the Lion King 3.
Yeah. Lion King 83. It'll all just be the same.
So I was not here, but at another event some months ago, and there was a person, like a lead AI person from Microsoft. And I'm not going to remember the statistic right, but the sentiment that she shared, like she had PowerPoint slides to talk about, hey, we watched how Copilot worked within Microsoft, and it was like our people, because of the help of the writing, were able to make like 20, I don't remember, this number's going to be wrong, but it was something like 20% more emails. And there was like, and also Copilot helped, so people spent like 30% less time writing emails. And I was like, so to your point, it was like, wait, so they were just making more junk mail that more people aren't reading? Like it was like this they were like, the success.
Well, they can only read so much. Like the other thing is, that you can produce, my wife's a librarian, and so the ability to produce books now with AI and the ease of producing books is significantly faster.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Can you read them any faster? Right.
Yeah.
And so like there's an interesting, there's so much more content out there. So how do you pick the right content? And that content then becomes normalized. And so that's why I think creativity is going to be, kind of key. And to harp on it, like Brian said, just EBITDA, like what is that? Understanding your thing so that you can do the right arts around that.
Unfortunately, all these Congress and all these moments needs to go to the end, and we need to go to the last question. What do you like to say to Brazilians that we didn't ask you?
Oh, go ahead.
You go ahead. All right.
I have to be super nice. I'm not going to lie. They brought me a case of Guaraná and made me feijoada. So, which is really, and was really good. So if nothing good's going to happen if I don't say anything.
Well, I didn't get any of that because I just showed up to fill in at the last minute. So I really appreciate you guys. Here's what I want to say. First off, you guys do an amazing job.
Oh yeah.
I appreciate you.
Thank
You guys take topics that a lot of people might consider boring and make them interesting. I think like some of the things that we were talking about here today, we could have just been on stage and have a conference session on, right? So first off, really appreciate you. People should keep listening to this.
Thank you.
And also just love that there's a passion around it. The fact that you guys have such a big following over something that is really important. So I would guess that your audience is very different from some of the people that we were just talking about. I think they're fully engaged. So I just really appreciate that there are people that are trying, that you guys are, putting a message out, because it would be very easy to be like, well, maybe a bot will just come along and do all of our HR and payroll and do all of that for us.
Mm-hmm.
There's got to be people that speak out for that. So just want to appreciate you all for that.
Wow. Thank you.
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
And you guys are great. I mean, for those that don't know, when we post this, there are 70 people here. And I know over the couple of years that has really grown. And I think a big part of that is you bring the show to them and the community that's here and bring that perspective down to Brazil, which is huge, right? I mean, there are 70 people here from Brazil, which is mind blowing, which means how big is the community there? I don't know how many the biggest state had, probably outside of Texas. Outside of Texas, you might have the biggest contingent if you consider Brazil a state.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'll bet.
Yeah,
I'll
you
bet
guys
it'd
are-
be pretty close. In Texas, we're local in San Antonio, so that you always get more in the local state. But you'd be one of the top states, I think, this year, which is really impressive because it's not close. Or as Felipe would say, it's long from here.
Long.
Yeah. But it is amazing that what you guys do. You get a variety of guests on, and I'm super stoked to run it back next year with you guys. So I'm biased because we did Totally Rewarding Chats in the same booth with you guys this year. So I'm super biased. So my goal is to make sure you guys don't, become too famous and leave us behind next year.
Never. Thank
no
you
room
so
for
much.
Sean in the future.
Yeah. I should not have asked Brian to come in for Paul today, but you did see on the camera, we did bring mini Paul. So we did bring a little Paul. So we're thinking of Paul.
Thank you so
No.
much, guys.
you.
Like,
Thank
it's a pleasure. Like, thank you so much.
Hmm.
You're my brother in Christ. You are a friend, not a colleague. It's a friend. Like doing things that is transpass the borders of work. I love you, man.
Mhm. You're great, man. Love you guys. Yes, man. Don't forget the boss.
Yes.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah, appreciate you.
Don't forget the book.
2 years ago, our first conversation was so nice.
So nice.
Ever. It was. This is the guy too.
Yeah, so appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Likewise.
Have a great day.
Thanks, you too.
Thank you.
All right.